All right, so 2025 is in full swing, and I'm willing to bet you're putting in the work, right? Upskilling, learning new tech, and innovating, just constantly pushing yourself to be better. But maybe you're also feeling like that big breakthrough you're after, well, still just a little bit out of reach. Or maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's more like this underlying worry, like,
Okay.
are you really truly equipped to deal with everything that's coming next with all this rapid change? What if the real thing holding you back isn't like the external pressures, but something you haven't even really considered, something internal?
You hit the nail on the head there. That question really gets to the heart of what Carol Dweck explored in her work on mindset and how those beliefs you hold about your own potential and capabilities, well, those really make all the difference, especially in a year like 2025 with so much change happening so fast in technology in markets everywhere. I mean, understanding and actually cultivating the right mindset, it's not just a nice to have, it's like essential if you really want to thrive.
I completely agree. And that's exactly why we're diving deep into this today. We're not just doing like a basic book summary of Dweck's mindset, though. We're going deeper. We want to give you the most powerful, the most practical strategies that you can use right now in 2025. Whether you're trying to launch a startup or just trying to reach that next level in your career, this is about understanding how to unlock your full potential in this environment where everything's changing so rapidly, constant innovation, new landscapes popping up everywhere.
What we're really interested in is how Dweck's framework of fixed versus growth mindset actually plays out in the real world today. Because it's not just about achieving success, right? It's about having that resilience to keep going when things inevitably get tough. And that's what we want to give you today, concrete, actionable techniques to build that growth mindset so you can not only survive the craziness of 2025, but actually use it to grow and become even stronger.
So let's dive right in and get tactical. The first key takeaway we want to look at is all about identifying your fixed mindset triggers. You can think of these as those hidden traps that can really sabotage your progress without you even realizing it. So Dweck basically says that at its core, a fixed mindset is the belief that your talents, your intelligence, all those fundamental abilities, well, they're basically fixed. You either have them or you don't. But a growth mindset sees those same qualities as things you can develop through dedication, hard work, good strategies, learning from others.
And honestly, understanding this difference is more important now than ever in 2025. The speed of change is just insane, especially with technology. I mean, look at how generative AI is basically reshaping whole industries almost overnight. Someone with a fixed mindset might see all that and immediately think, I can never understand all that, and just give up before they even start. It's this fear-based mindset. Fear of looking incompetent, fear of failing, fear of even admitting that they need to learn something new. And that fear, it turns into defensiveness and resistance to trying new things, which is really dangerous in this kind of environment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, flip that around to the growth mindset. It sees those same challenges, like technology changing, so fast markets going up and down as opportunities to learn and grow.
Yeah.
Failure isn't some kind of judgment on your ability. It's valuable feedback that helps you get better. Effort isn't a sign that you're lacking talent. It's the fuel you need to actually master something. Look at Satya Nadella's time at Microsoft. He didn't come in with all the answers right away. It was about creating a culture of learning and adaptation, a real growth mindset in action. And that's how a huge company like Microsoft was able to not just survive, but thrive even with all the massive tech changes happening.
Okay, but how do you actually start identifying these fixed mindset triggers in your own life right now in 2025? The first step is really simple. It's about awareness.
Right, so here's a three-step process you can use today. Step one, become really aware. Start paying super close attention to the specific situations that make those fixed mindset thoughts and feelings pop up. What are your patterns? Maybe it's when you're facing a really tough problem you've never seen before, like trying to use a new AI tool in your workflow. Or maybe it's when someone gives you some critical feedback, even if they mean well. It could even be when you see a competitor doing really well and you start thinking, they must have something I don't. Just start noticing those patterns.
Step two is all about tuning into what you're actually saying to yourself in those moments.
Yeah.
What's that internal voice telling you? That fixed mindset voice, it often has a really negative, limiting tone. You might hear yourself thinking things like, I'm just not good enough for this. Or if I try something new, I'm just going to mess it up. Maybe even this should be easier for me if I was really talented. Or you fall into the comparison trap and think, they're just naturally gifted. I can never be that good. Really listen to the specific messages that voice is sending you. What's the underlying fear that's driving it?
And step three, this one's a bit different and it might sound silly, but trust me, it works. Give that fixed mindset voice a name. Think of something that really captures its personality. Maybe it's Doubtful Debbie or Insecure Ian, or even something funny like Captain Catastrophe. Why would you do this? Well, By giving it a name, you're creating some distance between that voice and you. It's not actually you saying those negative things. It's just doubtful Debbie being her usual negative self, because now you can see that the situation is challenging or uncertain, but it's not a reflection of you. Recognizing this voice and giving it a name actually takes away a lot of its power.
So for this week, your action item is to focus on that awareness. Just find one situation where you felt that defensiveness coming up, that feeling of doubt where you started thinking, maybe I'm not good enough. Write down what triggered it and what that little voice in your head was saying. It might seem simple, but that awareness is the first step to breaking free from that fixed mindset.
Okay, so let's move on to our second big takeaway, turning failure into fuel. In the fast-paced world of 2025, this is absolutely crucial for building resilience. Let's be honest, if you're an entrepreneur launching a new business or even just someone pushing the boundaries in your field, you're going to face setbacks. It's not a question of if, but when. Maybe a product launch doesn't go as well as you hoped. Maybe a partnership falls apart. Maybe you lose out on a funding opportunity.
And if you're stuck in a fixed mindset, those setbacks can feel like the end of the world because you see failure as a judgment on you personally. Like it's a big sign that says you are a failure. And that can lead to all sorts of negative reactions. Blaming other people, making excuses, even just giving up entirely because you think it proves you're just not good enough.
But in 2025, seeing failure as this huge personal defeat is a recipe for disaster. The growth mindset gives you a whole new way of looking at it. It says that failure isn't a bad thing. It's valuable data. It's information about what didn't work. It's not about your worth as a person. It's just part of the process. Yeah. Think about someone like James Dyson and all those prototypes he made before he got the vacuum cleaner, right? He didn't give up. He learned from each one and eventually achieved massive success.
So how do you actually develop this growth mindset approach to failure in 2025? Here's a 4-step protocol you can start using right now. Step 1, separate the outcome from your identity. When you experience a setback, say to yourself, okay, this specific approach didn't work, instead of I am a failure. It's okay to be disappointed, but don't let it define you.
Step 2, put on your scientist hat and analyze what happened. Be curious. Ask yourself what went wrong. What were you assuming that turned out to be wrong?
Right.
What was actually in your control and what wasn't? And most importantly, what data can you get from this experience? Did the marketing message miss the mark? Was the product just not a good fit for the market? Be objective and really dig into the details.
Step 3, shift your focus to process and strategy. Don't get stuck in the negative emotions. Think about what you learned from this. What different strategies could you try next time? Who could you ask for feedback or advice from? This is all about actively looking for the learning opportunity hidden within the failure.
And finally, step 4, create a specific action plan based on what you just learned. Don't be vague like, I'll do better next time. Get specific. What's the very next step you can take? For example, if a new feature launch didn't work, maybe your next step is, I'm going to talk to 5 users today and find out why they didn't like it. Or if a sales pitch didn't go well, your next step might be, I'm going to watch recordings of successful pitches and figure out what they did differently. The key is to turn your analysis into real actionable steps.
So your challenge this week is to pick a recent setback. It doesn't have to be huge, even a small disappointment will do. And then go through these 4 steps. Don't just wallow in the negative feelings. Actually try to extract some valuable lessons from it. This ability to learn and adapt from failure is crucial for long-term success, especially with all the uncertainty in 2025.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to our third and final takeaway. This one's about how we lead and communicate in a way that encourages growth instead of accidentally reinforcing that fixed mindset, especially when it comes to talent or this idea of genius. And this is super relevant whether you're leading a team, dealing with all the changes in 2025, working with colleagues on a new project, or even just asking for feedback on your own ideas. Dweck warns us about praising innate ability too much. He comments like, you're so smart, or you're a natural at this. They seem like compliments, right? But Dweck's research shows that they can actually push people towards a fixed mindset. If you're always told you're naturally talented, you might start avoiding challenges because you're afraid of failing and proving everyone wrong. You might not want to take risks or admit when you make mistakes. Remember those studies Dweck did with students? When they were praised for their intelligence, they actually became less willing to try hard things and gave up more easily.
And in 2025, success is all about collaboration, innovation, being able to learn and adapt quickly. You need people who are willing to tackle hard problems, admit when they make mistakes, and learn from each other. And that kind of environment doesn't come from praising people for being naturally gifted. It comes from what we're calling growth mindset communication.
So let's get specific. What are some things you can start doing right now in 2025, whether you're a leader or just someone working on a team?
If you're a leader, the first thing is to focus on praising the process, not just the person. So instead of saying something generic like, amazing job, you're a star, be more specific. Highlight the effort, the strategies they used, the persistence they showed, and what they learned along the way. Maybe you could say something like, that analysis was really insightful. I was impressed by how thoroughly you researched everything and the way you connected all the data to make a strong argument and the way you adapted when you hit those unexpected roadblocks. That was really impressive strategic thinking. The focus is on what they did and how they learn, not just on some inherent ability.
Second, when you're giving feedback that points out areas for improvement, frame it in a way that encourages growth. Instead of just saying, this proposal isn't good enough, try something like, this proposal has a lot of potential. Let's see if we can make the competitive analysis even stronger and make sure the solutions really address those emerging market trends. What kind of resources or support would help you take this to the next level? So it's not about judgment. It's about working together to make things better.
Another powerful thing leaders can do is to be open about their own struggles and mistakes. Talk about times when you messed up and how you learned from it. That makes it okay for your team to admit when they're having trouble and ask for help. Think about leaders in tech who openly talk about their product failures and how they had to pivot. It creates a culture where everyone learns from experience.
And one more thing for leaders to remember in 2025. Don't fall into the trap of praising effort just for the sake of it. It's not enough to just try hard. The effort needs to lead to actual learning progress and the ability to apply new strategies. If you're praising someone for their effort, but they're not getting any better results, you need to dig deeper. Maybe you could say, I see you've been putting in a lot of work and I appreciate that. Let's take a closer look at your approach and brainstorm some different strategies that might help you get to where you want to be.
And for everyone, whether you're a leader or not, there are things you can do to build a growth mindset. When you're asking for feedback, be specific about what you want to learn. Instead of saying, what did you think? Ask, what parts of my strategy worked well and what could I improve next time?
And when you're getting feedback, focus on what you can learn from it. Don't just try to get validation or avoid criticism. Really listen for those nuggets of insight that can help you get better. Don't be afraid to ask questions to make sure you understand how to grow based on the feedback you're getting.
So this week, try to focus on the process, the strategies, the effort, the learning, the path forward whenever you're giving or receiving feedback. And if you're a leader, really try to practice giving process-focused praise to your team members.
Okay. So as we wrap up our deep dive into mindset, it's clear that Carol Dweck's work gives us so much more than just theory. It's like a toolbox filled with practical strategies for thriving in 2025. We've seen how true success in this rapidly changing world isn't about some fixed idea of talent. It's about how you approach growth learning and the challenges you face along the way.
And if we were to boil it all down to the two most important things you can start doing today, they would be this. First, change how you think about failure. Don't see it as a sign that you're not good enough. See it as a valuable opportunity to learn and improve. Use those setbacks as data points to guide your next steps. And second, whether you're leading a team, working with colleagues, or just sharing your ideas, focus your communication and your praise on the process of learning and development, not on some idea of inherent genius. The first step is recognizing those fixed mindset traps, those beliefs that might be holding you back without you even realizing it. Once you see them, you can actively choose to adopt a growth mindset. Embrace challenges as opportunities to learn. See effort as the way to master new skills. And don't see setbacks as defeats. See them as valuable lessons on the road to achieving your goals in 2025 and beyond. Cultivating a growth mindset is a journey, a constant process of looking inward and making conscious choices. But it's a journey that can completely change your life. It's not just about navigating the complexities of 2025, it's about unlocking your full potential and achieving things you never thought possible. So I want to leave you with this question. What does your own journey of growth look like, and what's one small step you can take this week to move further down that path?